back. It's the Friday Feast, PA in Charge, and you're going to hear PA in Charge react next segment to what I'm about to play for you this segment, and that's quarterback Sam Darnold addressing the media. Camp underway. We're hearing about 50-yard dimes, and everything's good with Sam. Well, here he is with the media yesterday.
Excited to be back out here for camp, or I guess back out here from OTAs. My first camp here, obviously. Just very excited, man. Very excited to get to work and with the fellows and obviously with the fans too, man. Get some open practices. It's going to be fun to see those guys and just ready to get to work.
Sam, can you kind of take us through some of those throws to Justin Jefferson, how you guys are kind of building chemistry in these early days of camp?
Yeah, for right now, it's just going through the play call, going through what I'm seeing on defense, and just making sure I'm checking all the boxes mentally for me. And then, if the read obviously takes me to Jets, his ability to, change speeds and, pick an angle and stick at that angle, it really helps as a quarterback. Even these first, this really first day throwing to him. Obviously, I got 2 days throwing to him a little bit in mini camp, but yesterday being able to throw to him a little bit, felt really comfortable.
So you are just absorbing the scheme. It obviously takes some time. I'm sure you've had some of it before, but it's taken up. Kirk Cousins used to talk about, he went right into the season before he felt comfortable learning it. And,
yeah.
Just curious where you feel like you are in that process.
Yeah. I feel like Kirk kind of nailed it right on the head, just like you said, but just kind of, diving right into it. And obviously there's things during OTAs where, you can look back and take notes from there. And we're continuing to go through the repeat installs from OTAs, so that helps the learning curve. But every single day, man, I gotta study, do my due diligence in terms of looking at things, making sure I'm good with everything on the practice script. And then, once you get to game planning, you start to combine certain plays, and you know exactly what coverages and what kind of pressures the team you're going against is bringing. So, to an extent, it's tricky, right? I mean, you have a lot of words, and you have with those certain plays and game plans, but you come out here and sometimes, our defense especially is running 100 different coverages and different pressures off of them. So it's really good work for us to come out here and test our, test kind of the width of how much we know the playbook.
Then how do you sort of approach your role as a kind of mentor, like educated, not just with the scheme, but
JJ's been awesome. Just to be able to come out here and compete, help him in any way I can. Obviously, and for him, just continuing to soak everything in. Come out here and be kind of just, like I said, just a sponge. Be able to, okay, what's the play call? Call it in the huddle, see the defense, motions, all that stuff. Like, just take a deep breath and go one step at a time that way. So, that'll help him a ton.
What you thought it would be like to be working with Josh McCown every day? Like, how much has it lived up to maybe what you hoped?
Or what I remembered from 2018? As a coach, right? I mean, take a step back in 2018 when I was playing with him, it was a lot of positive reinforcement. Not that he's not positive, but as a coach, you got to be a little bit more on your players and tell them what they got to do better most of the time. So that's a little bit different, but Josh is he's awesome to work with. Really competitive, like all of us out here, and really cool that we get to work together.
What you felt when he left?
When he left where? New York?
Yeah.
I feel like as a rookie, I mean, everything goes by. It's really slow in the moment, but looking back, it went by really fast. And to be honest, it was such a blur for me that rookie year. Being able to, learn the playbook and kind of like I said in the beginning with game plans, being able to just, all right, dive into the game plan this week. What's the defense doing? And then just do the same thing over and over again, week after week. So you kind of get into a rhythm routine-wise, and for Josh to be there and be able to help me with that during that rookie year was incredible, and he's been helping me a ton already this year.
And at full speed yesterday, how much of a challenge is just the complexity of what Flores does defensively?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, it was install 1 for them, and yeah, it's very complex. I remember last year in San Francisco, it gave us a ton of problems, throughout the week. Like, hey, what are we going to do if we get this look? And then you get those one-off looks where it's like, shoot, I didn't know they could bring that pressure from that side with that front. And there's just so many different things you have to account for. And obviously it's a great scheme, but it's really the players that make it go. You got great, really smart players in the back end that are able to disguise the way they do. Obviously led by Harrison Smith, just back there, messing with us the whole day. So it's really fun to be able to go against. Frustrating at times, but fun for the most part to be able to compete out here.
Sam, when you come into a new team and they have an offensive line like this one that has largely been the same since 2021, I guess, can you tell that, and what kind of a difference does it make for you?
Yeah, you can tell the cohesion of the offensive line right now is it's in a good place. They're really comfortable with each other. You see that right away with the way they are off the field, and then just coming onto the field and how easy it is for them to be able to make. Garrett makes one call and they know exactly what they're going to do, and it's a good feeling as a quarterback to have an offensive line that's so cohesive and just ready to go.
Sam, just last year in San Francisco, being able to look at things from a little bit different perspective from that year, I guess how much did you take away from that you've been able to apply now that you're back in the QB1 spot?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me as a quarterback, I think is just playing the game like a point guard. Just being able to just dish the ball to the guys, let them go run after the catch, not try to do too much out there. Really just, in essence, just take what the defense gives you. I know that's a cliche, but it's really true, especially on first and second down. Just taking completions, coming back to the sideline. If we had a look where I could have taken a shot, talk about it, maybe come back to it, but just taking what they give you play after play, and eventually something's going to pop.
Sam, how much do you value building chemistry off the field with some of your teammates? For example, in a meeting room on a whiteboard, or watching film with a player like Justin and picking apart things together?
Yeah, it's huge. Whenever you can spend that time off the field together, whether it's watching film on a whiteboard, all that stuff. But I think just as important, is just spending genuine time together outside the facility, or outside the field or off the field, just to be able to hang out and find stuff out about each other that you didn't know. And obviously I probably know a lot more about him now with Netflix, with the show, than he knows about me. But but it's been really cool, man, to just not only Justin, but the entire skill positions, the defense, everyone on offense. It's been fun to be able to be a part of this team now for a few months, and it really feels like home right now.
We're hanging out with some of those teammates now that you're in Minnesota. What are some of your favorite things to do?
Golf. We're not able to golf nearly as much right now, but during OTAs we got out to Whistling Straits out there in Wisconsin, made the drive. Even the drive, spending that time with those guys was really fun. And then whether going to the T-Wolves games, going to some of the Twins games as well. Anytime you get to spend together with teammates, or spend time with teammates, it's always a blessing.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on Darrisaw and him getting even more money than the best at the position out in San Francisco?
Say that one more time.
And just your thoughts on Darrisaw getting the big contract, which is even bigger than Trent Williams, who's obviously the best in the business right now.
Right. I think CD, obviously he earned that over the course of the last years, and it's just it's incredible, man. Anytime one of your guys, one of your teammates can get paid like that, it's obviously a great thing, and I'm just really excited or happy for him. But he hasn't changed. Since OTAs when I met him. He's still a very hard worker, and that's just who he is. And getting that contract isn't necessarily going to change him at all.
Do you feel more confident now than in the spring when you signed?
Yeah, just kind of going back through the installs, these first few days, it's really starting to feel comfortable. But again, with the defense we're going against every single day, it's really fun to be able to push the limits of what you can do at the line of scrimmage, breaking the huddle within, 15, 20 seconds, to be able to, make different protection calls, and if we are hot, if we gotta throw hot, be able to know where those answers are.
It's important. You mentioned the mentorship of JJ. There have been situations where there haven't been good relationships. Why is it important to you to mentor him and be a good steward?
Well, to be honest, it's everyone learns together in the quarterback room. If I can take things from JJ that he can teach me, I'll gladly take it, man. We're all learning from each other, not only in the quarterback room, but everyone on the offense, on the defense, everyone's just constantly asking each other, not only about football, but off the field things too. So just to be able to help in any way I can, and be able to ask for help amongst these guys in the locker room, that's the kind of relationship that we have with each other in that locker room. And again, that's one of the great things about this place that I've realized so far.
That's Sam Darnold addressing the media yesterday. Vikings training camp underway. And when we return, now there's a couple of things from that presser I want to throw by PA and Charge as we continue the Friday football feast right here 9 to noon of the
Yummy. Yummy.
What on earth is this?
Is this one of the week tracks?
Yeah.
I think I heard a voice. Hey.
Yeah, I heard like a yummy in there.
You better get into the podcast, take out those voices, leave the rest of the week.
Well, thankfully, apparently, we paid for this. We don't pay for the music we've been playing for years, but we paid for yummy.
And maybe we didn't pay for it. This sounds like it could just be an AI creation.
This sounds like
it's
something
so generic.
You would pay $45 to go see at Myth. It doesn't have words.
Oh, I do like that part.
Right.
I like the no words part.
It's a little D&B. Give you some flashing lights, maybe some glow sticks.
And we, as in the Minnesota Vikings, also paid for Sam Darnold. It's 1 year and $10 million.
Yeah, towards the end of that presser, there were a couple of things that struck me in his conversation yesterday. Pops in my head. I'm wondering how JJ's doing. Sam's throwing darts, and Alec Lewis is saying, we're back. And it's training camp underway. But he was kind of talking about the learning process, the teaching process, and kind of the verbiage around it, the idea, similar to what we've heard from Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, this cascading of information, collaboration being a key word, of course. How much do you think that actually happens? In that room, it's something, did Aaron Rodgers truly benefit from being behind Brett Favre? We've kind of played that understudy game. Wow, what it means to sit behind Kirk, all of those things. Some guys are more helpful than others. But when you think of the dynamic of Sam Darnold, and now J.J. McCarthy ultimately is trying to grow up and eventually take that job, and the franchise making the decision they made makes that the favored path. What do you think about that dynamic between Darnold fighting to stay the week one and stay the 2024 starter, and the kid that wants to make plays and take his job?
I don't think J.J. McCarthy is teaching Sam Darnold a lot. I understand why Sam says these things, because he's now been to starter handling school. He's dealt with the media. He gave a lot of sort of the right answers. Even when we're asking questions about people he barely knows. How much does he really know about Christian Darrisaw? Probably, not that much.
Right.
I think this stuff is largely overrated. I'm sure that the quarterbacks talk. I'm sure they give each other tips and things. But Sam Darnold is ultimately responsible for being ready to be this team's starter in week one, and that's where his focus is. I don't think he's trying to get Jaron Hall ready. I think Sam Darnold spending his time with Sam Darnold and, his coaches and trying to learn a new offense. And Sam's got a lot going on. I don't know that. Let me ask this. How many times have you heard somebody, like, let's say Jordan Love, come up and say, the reason I got here is because the tutelage I got from the previous starter?
Never.
Never.
And I've always...
Well, that might just be a Rodgers thing, though.
From an experience standpoint, I've always heard that it's most incumbent on the learner as opposed to the learnee. Excuse me, the learnee as opposed to the one offering the tutelage. Mm-hmm. And there's an art to doing it, because you're right. I mean, now in this situation, with the 9 to noon assumption that's been the case for quite some time, that Sam Darnold will start week 1. I've said on the radio, I wouldn't be surprised if Darnold played every game this year, and they dust off McCarthy in 2025 or whatever. It's for McCarthy, it's finding the nuance of what to ask, how to do it, when to do it, so that you're not clumping. Now with Darnold, if he is going to be the starter, there is not, in my estimation, anybody beating down the door behind him to take that spot. So that opens things a little differently from a security standpoint. And finally, then you get to know things about Patrick Peterson, the former corner here. Mm-hmm. Well, Patrick, whether it's because there were a lot of young corners here, but I had heard he had done this in Arizona. I'm not going to say every Tuesday, but a lot of off Tuesdays, Patrick would bring the cornerback room, whomever could make it, to his house and cater food or prepared dinner.
Yeah.
And they would spend hours together watching film, going over nuance and technique and things like that. And here it was at a stage of Patrick's career, which was right in front of him shifting to safety for a little bit with Pittsburgh and kind of going back and forth. So Patrick's right at the end. And that was very impressive to me, that somebody who knows that they're not as fast as they used to be. They're not as dynamic as they used to be. And, somebody behind them eventually could cut into their reps. But for the totality of the team and the best for the team, Patrick would invest his time, knowledge, and skill into getting the other guys to be better. And he did it a lot. I mean, it took place a lot during the season. I think that's antithetical to a lot of other people.
I love that story, and I wish there were more guys like that. You have to have a certain cachet. Your career has to be in a spot where you can say, okay, cornerbacks, come to my house, let's break down tape, and let's have a meal together. And you got to have that. And by the time Patrick got here, he was already 10 years in the league and basically a lock for the Hall of Fame by the time he got here. I think Patrick Peterson's going in the Hall of Fame. Is there any doubt?
I'd have to think about it and/or look at it. I would lean yes, just top of the head. One thing people forget about Patrick is his punt return ability his first 2 years in the NFL. I mean, my man, he might have 4 punt return touchdowns, and they might have all taken place in one season. He was unbelievable returning punts. But, maybe he was getting a little nicked up. So therefore they're like, we got to pull back on but Patrick, when it comes to HOF grad, they look over everything with a fine tooth comb, and they're going to get back to the initial years. I think he was the 3rd pick out of LSU, something like that.
Fifth overall.
5th overall.
I mean, 3 first-team All-Pros. He's the 2010s NFL All-Decade team.
Oh, he's essential.
8-time Pro Bowler.
He's essential.
36 career picks.
Yep. The All-Pro part for the HOF matters
way more than Pro Bowl.
Yeah, infinitely more, yeah.
It's 85-15-ish, 90-10-ish.
Yeah.
But I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but Patrick Peterson, either with pick sixes, but specifically these punt returns. I mean, he was unbelievable at one point of his career.
He has 6 total touchdowns.
Patrick Peterson.
Punt returns?
That's probably pick sixes and punt returns, because he had 3 or 4 his first 2 years, punt return TDs specifically.
Damn.
Yeah, he had 2 interception TDs, so it must be 3 on returns, and none on fumbles. Patrick Peterson is last year here, 5 interceptions. Yeah, that's pretty good when you're in that would have been year 12 of his career.
At 5 last year?
He had 5 with the Vikings.
You remember
his
that
last year with the Vikings?
Oh, yeah.
That pick six. Now, that pick 6 he had for us, it does count with
last
the stats.
game of the year?
but the team basically parted the Red Sea.
Yeah,
I think
was it the Lions or the Bears?
I'm pretty sure it was the Lions.
I remember.
I don't recall which one. It's Lions or Bears.
Yeah.
But it felt like linemen were actively just getting out of the way.
Right.
But that's going to count. And when he gives his speech in Canton, I suppose, it won't matter at that point.
Peterson, just in closing, 8 seconds. He's one of the most well-respected teammates in the history of the NFL. And that's a big statement because I don't know about all teammates for other teams over the history of the NFL. I'm just going off what I've been told. And that story that I told you about Tuesdays. I mean, there are a lot more stories like that. Pat.
Don't you think he just has there's a mature, cool guy aura?
Huge.
I mean, you've been around so many athletes.
Yeah.
And some of them, it's head in the clouds.
Yeah.
Other guys certainly very humble and welcoming. Great people throughout the NFL. But Pat Pete's got some superstar chill aura to him on another level.
I will lay it out like this. He's Darren Sharper without the prison cell. He's Darren Sharper without the prison cell. Because Sharper, Darren was a soup. I sat next to him on team buses going to road stadiums many times. Chatted with him, a bunch of times. And Darren he was a very, very cool cat until
the other shoe dropped. Yeah. Peterson he did this station many, many times. You and I talked to him many times.
He was weekly with Barrero.
He's just got it together. And if he wants, and he doesn't need to work another day in his life, but if he wants a media career, it's waiting for Patrick Peterson because he would be fantastic at almost anything media related he ever decided.
Well, in listening to Sam Darnold and would you take the leap that Darnold will be the starting quarterback week 1?
I don't think it's a leap. I think that is that's a virtual lock.
Got it. Okay, so next, Charch constructed some Minnesota Vikings over-unders, wondering which side yours truly and Nordo are on. And some of them include what would be Sam Darnold, like passes per game and sacks and points scored and stuff like that. And that's next on KFAN. This is the Friday football feast. Freak out on this, Chargy.
Yeah.
We are 15 days from the first Minnesota Vikings preseason game.
15 days.
Purple Palatial Paradise against your Las Vegas Raiders. And then after that, a week later, they take on Kevin Stefanski and his rough and tumble Cleveland Browns August 17th.
In Cleveland.
Then to the Fighting City of Philadelphia, August 24th for the final preseason game. But we are 15 days from an actual game. It's a preseason game. Get your dust off your Lucky Jackson game warns, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But man, is it getting here quickly? Holy cow!
It is, and the preseason games, all thanks to the Rams. The Rams have taken the preseason games. They're already a little shaky, although I was an ardent defender of those who enjoyed preseason action. If you enjoy it, great. Mm-hmm. But now, since basically the Rams tapped out on their whole preseason program, no starters ever play.
Ever.
The rest of the NFL has now basically adopted that,
right.
And we don't get much play from anybody of consequence. But nevertheless, it's football, and we still love it.
Okay,
and I'm still intrigued.
Say it's Cousins here for a half decade, and it's O'Connell as the coach. So Kirk would play. He would play minimally. Like his 2018 before O'Connell at Denver. I think he got like most of a quarter. Then he got a quarter and change. Well, it's with Sam Darnold. Now, Justin Jefferson, he's not going to see the field in the preseason.
He shouldn't.
Jordan Addison probably won't. Hawkinson's hurt. Aaron Jones probably won't. What about Darnold? Because it's the double-edged sword related terrorism. You want him to get reps in games wearing your colors to hear the calls coming in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kind of an offensive line is going to be in front of him? And to whom is he going to be throwing? Because you might dial up some plays that you're going to use in the regular season, but if second and third type receivers aren't running the routes right, or if they're just not as good as the ones or maybe the twos, I wonder what they're going to do with Darnold Dallas Turner, J.J. McCarthy during these preseason games?
Selfishly, I'd love to see those guys play because I want to see them on the field. I want to see them.
I think McCarthy plays a ton.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
I hope he does.
Yeah, in this home preseason game, it's O'Connell's good about this, where he will recognize this is a home game. There are people who actually paid money to be here, and J.J. McCarthy was the 10th overall pick in the draft, and he's probably not going to play during the course of the season. I mean, McCarthy should get a half, 3/4?
I'd love
in
it.
the home game.
Yeah.
Simply because people want to see him.
Right. And, there isn't a plan. We don't believe there's a plan to start J.J. McCarthy anytime soon. So barring a catastrophic season-ending injury, even if he gets dinged up, doesn't matter. Wasn't scheduled to start anyway. So the injury risk to me is so low, and the reps could be so important for him to get live game reps.
Right.
I would give JJ a long run if it were me. And I hope it goes that way.
These Vikings over-unders you have crafted, wondering on which the side Nordo and I will fall. Where would you like to begin?
Let's start at points per game. I'm playing the role of the Circa Sportsbook. I have set these lines.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me if you're going over or under.
So
for each
did you
of these
set
Vikings.
the lines, or are these the lines?
I have set these lines because many of these do not have actual lines.
Do any of these shade over or under here? You trying to run a game on us like you do when you bring your Super Bowl prop numbers in here?
No, that is not happening.
These kids.
You need to get over that, by the way. Need to move on. Points per game. Over or under 20 points per game at the end of the year for the Minnesota Vikings. So they've begun over under 20 points per game. Last year, they were 20.2 points per game, so almost exactly that.
Wow.
They ranked 22nd in the league. Over under 20 points per game. Nordo, let's start with you.
Yeah, it's easy. It's over.
It's
If
over.
you just consider the Raiders game in itself, like you just take that masterpiece of awful out of the mix, they would have averaged more than 20 points a game. Just another field goal gets them over 20.
Right.
The offense, and this is all predicated on health, right? I'm not playing the games of backups and who's starting and how good or bad other operations are. I'm just picturing health and stability and consistency with Sam Darnold. The team will score more than 20 points a game. Yes.
The head coach is an offensive-minded head coach. He'd throw 80% of the time if they let him, and he's really, really good at attacking weaknesses and players for other teams who have just come back from injury. I mean, about as good as I've seen with that latter point. Where you've been out a couple of weeks, or you're questionable all week. Let's make sure you can run again and again and again, Dre Greenlaw, and again and again. He's cold-blooded that way. Nordo hit it. The Raiders game's key, but the Dobbs games and then the one the Jaron Hall and stuff like that.
That Raiders 3-point game doesn't help the old average.
Yeah, that's the bit. So offensive-minded coach. High-end skill guys in the right spots, and a quarterback who knows how to get the ball around the gym. This is an absolute over.
All right, so you're both over 20 points per game. Let's go to points allowed per game.
This is tough.
Over or under is again set at 20. Last year, this team was 21.2 points per game, roughly right in the middle of the pack. The over/under now, we're going to say this defense is a little better this year by setting the line at 20, not the 21.2 that it was last year. You going over or under 20 points allowed per game? Paul, this time you go first.
Yeah, it's a collaboration here. Because when you say better, okay, it's DJ Wanham had the season of his life before he got hurt. Danielle Hunter had the best overall season he's had of his career. Harrison Phillips had the best overall season of his career. Josh Metellus. I can go on with a couple more. The point being is those who are coming off what was a new top. Well, it just because it was a top for them doesn't mean there's not more now that it's quicker twitch with Flores. So the point being here is who is Van Ginkel going to have the best season of his career? Cashman. Maybe Ivan Pace Jr. should be overall better than he was last year, and he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Grenard with what they're going to do with him. So it's prognosticating what Flores does with certain players in certain situations. he brings out your very best because the rest of the league has not seen it. It takes you a little while to get up to speed with it. But when you do, it's super unpredictable. When you get 300-400 plays on tape and you're in like week 5 or 6, well, now they're looking at 7 rubes strewn across the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And you don't know where it's coming from because you've now seen it 70 times. So that all plays into it. The unpredictability for the defense in totality. Those who found tops last year, are they going to be better? And the handful of newbies, a bevy of newbies, are they going to are how quickly will they pick it up? So it's the number you laid here, over under of 20
points allowed.
Last year 21.2, 13th in the league, like you said. What do you think?
Well, Did you give an answer? Did you give an over and under? No. So this is
it's a collaboration. We talk things out together.
This is an optimist, and this is a projection play for me, and this is where I'm going with it. I'm going under 20. And I believe ultimately they're going to be tasting, they're going to be kissing, they're going to be sniffing that top 10 line of scoring defenses this year. This is a defense that emerged.
That's a bold proclamation.
Well, and it's based on this. Simply enough, a deeper team will lead to a situation in which the final 4 games of last year, when they gave up 27, 30, 33, and 30, their final 4 games. Guys playing career high in snaps. Guys are tired. Walls were hit and were not busted through. I am betting on the idea of a team that lost some big names but added depth from my perspective. I believe that if you shave some of that off down the back end of the season, that ultimately you're looking at a team that statistically will be sniffing the top 10 of scoring defenses.
This is the best overall linebacker group they've had here in a long time. Now, I'm not going to go down the Lieber Greenway, E.J. Henderson road. Kendricks and Barr, when they played nickel together, I mean, that was really, really good. It's the depth, like Nordo just said. Van Ginkel is I don't, I'm not going to be shy about saying this, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. He's going to have by far the best season he's ever had in his life once he gets healthy because of the complementary pieces around him that weren't necessarily there in Miami. Now, Dallas Turner is I think the biggest key here because Dallas Turner, I think, and we'll see if we can learn some stuff during practice, specifically when the public and media part of practice comes to a conclusion late August, early September. How much do they use Dallas Turner at defensive end? Because Dallas can put his hand in the grass.
For sure.
But he's also the stand-up, rush guy on the outside. So getting a pass rush from one of those 3 defensive linemen when you're in a standard 3-4, that was a problem last year. Jonathan Bullard he's a very good run-stopping defensive end, and he holds the point of attack so others can eat, as they would say in the business.
Team was 7th or 8th against the run last year.
Yeah, but that's not that's not getting you over the hump, getting into the backfield, specifically with the middle pressure, which is a quarterback's nightmare. So I expect, until I just never see it and it never happens, when it's 3rd and, say, 5 or 6 or more, I think Turner's going to be all over the place. I think he's going to mug the A-gap. I think he's going to line up as a 3 technique, a defensive end, a pass-rushing outside linebacker. I don't think you can do as much with Grenard because he's more slender, and he just doesn't have the build that Turner has to use in certain spots. But Turner and how they unleash him, that's going to be the key to this number being top 10 scoring defense, like Nordo said, or giving up maybe more than 20 points a game.
So you guys
want to
together
swing this around to the 12?
Are under, correct.
Now, we better pause so we can keep ahead of the clock into the final hour.
Yeah, and there are more over-unders involving the purple into which we will dive, including sacks, passes per game, rushing touchdowns, and interceptions thrown. And we also have a fantasy component to the Friday Fantasy Feast. Paul Charchian and the Tolstoy has put together some intriguing, very tough decisions that are approaching you quickly if they're not already there. So make sure you listen to the entirety of the entire hour, which begins around the corner.